East African nation Kenya remains one of Africa's leading economies, with the African Development Bank stating in a report that the country was the third largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa in 2022, behind only Nigeria and South Africa. Kenya's neighbors Uganda and Tanzania have, however, registered notable economic growth in recent times. AFDB placed Kenya's 2022 gross domestic product (GDP) at 115.3 billion US dollars. GDP is the total monetary value of all goods and services that a country produces within a certain period. In East Africa, projections show that Kenya's economy remains the one to beat. It has achieved above average growth rates in Africa, exceeding 5% for 15 years before the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. This growth enabled Kenya to achieve lower middle income status in 2015. When you take the country's total income, for instance, in 2022, and divide it by its population, the per capita income is nearly 2,200 US dollars. Tanzania's is slightly over $1,100, while Uganda's is $915. Between 2019 and 2023, Kenya maintained its lower middle income status, and GDP grew on average by 4.5%. AFDB's reports show that Uganda is still classified by the World Bank as a low-income country, which is a level below Kenya and Tanzania. AFDB says that Uganda's growth trend between 2015 and 2020 slowed to 4.4% from 5.4% between 2020 and 2015. Nonetheless, AFDB states that the country has made good progress towards economic stability and poverty reduction. Tanzania was, in July 2020, elevated to the lower middle income category by the World Bank. Though its real GDP previously averaged just above 5%, AFDB projects that Tanzania's GDP in 2024 will go above 6%, driven by the recovery in tourism and the gradual stability in the supply chain. In 2023, the International Monetary Fund projected that Tanzania would overtake Kenya as East Africa's largest economy in 10 years' time, given the respective countries' growth rate patterns. According to IMF projections, Tanzania would have a GDP of 136 billion US dollars by 2028 from $85 billion currently. Kenya, on the other hand, is projected to have a GDP of 151 billion US dollars by 2028 and thereafter overtaken by Tanzania. Economists say that for Tanzania to fully realize its economic potential, it must increasingly rely on the private sector for growth. Nearly 8 million out of 54 million people in Kenya live in extreme poverty, that is below 1.9 US dollars daily. In Tanzania, the number is 26 million people against a population of over 65 million people. In Uganda, some 18 million people out of 47 million people live below 1.9 US dollars per day. Just like many other countries, the three neighbors are currently bearing the brunt of a high cost of living.
We are ending this year in a very sad note. The environment is not very conducive for any business to thrive. Our president has decided to make very punitive tax measures that have forced very many businesses to go out of our country. And this has led to very many job losses this year. And now that we are now celebrating Christmas, you can see they are coming back because you've all lost your jobs and you are now desperate. And they are now giving you handouts. This is led by our own president, who has decided to print his own picture on all the donations that he's giving out to the people of Eldoret and neighboring communities. And I have never seen this before, where we are stooping so low to the extent where it feels like we are again campaigning. You're the president of Kenya. This is what is done by MCAs, this is what our MPs do, and our women rep. And now our president has gone to the extent where he's printing his own picture on all the produce that he's donating to our communities. And this is what this government wants. It wants us to be very desperate to the extent where if you're given donations like sugar and a bread, you now sing praises to this guy saying that he has given you Christmas. So our leaders have taken away from us for the whole year, only to come on Christmas Day and give you donations maybe worth 1,000 shillings. I've seen other members of parliament who are giving people 100 shillings. And this is what this government wants. This government wants us to go down on our knees to the extent where if they bring salt, you will go all around singing his praise that he has donated something very important to you. What I'm praying for next year is we are able to come back. We are able to get our industries back. We are able to get our jobs back to the extent where we don't need these leaders to line us up like beggars and start giving us donations. When a generation goes back to a time where in the beginning when we had our former president, and may his soul rest in peace, Daniel Arap Moi, we used to see scenes like this. I hope Kenyans will rise from this particular situation that we have. And I hope that next year something will happen. I hope that all of you will get jobs and you will not have to be desperate. I know it's a tough situation and you have to do this. But our members of parliament, our governors, are going around the country dishing out donations. And please remember, that is your tax money being used right there. The president has been going around different churches and giving out 5 million every other Sunday. Going by his salary, he's not able to afford that every other Sunday. So just know, your tax money is being used to give you back donations, to give you back little supplements during Christmas. So do you want to tell me Kenyans only need these donations during Christmas? So please, Kenyans, wake up. When your tax money is being used to give you donations, it's not really helping you. I'd rather Kenyans get jobs and they are able to fend for themselves and the leaders do what they're supposed to be doing when they are elected. And let Kenyans pay their taxes after getting jobs based on the government doing what it's supposed to do. Lining up our mothers and our brothers and our sisters and giving them 100 shillings and giving them unga. I know people will come out and say, oh, what have you done? But what has this government done in making sure that situation improves? Actually, the situation has deteriorated in the last 1 year. I'm actually praying that this situation changes and we are able to have our brothers and sisters get jobs so that they don't have to depend on donations. So this is 2.5 years down the line. What happens in the next 2 years? You guys will be so desperate and everyone will now be singing praise if you are given 50 shillings. And that is the desperation this government wants.
Ruto must go. Ruto must go. For 2 years, we have sung that song, that Ruto must go. Why is Ruto going? Is Ruto going because he's a Kalenjin? Yes? No. Is Ruto going because he comes from Rift Valley? No. Why is Ruto must go? Or why is Ruto going? Ruto is going because of one thing. Ruto is going because of incompetence. And this incompetence has affected us economically. Economically, mark that word, economically. But if Ruto will go so that we can replace him with other tribal chiefs, my friend, his problem haitaisha Kenya. I'm telling you. And that's the problem I'm seeing. That's the danger I'm seeing. That we are sliding back to nonsense. You see, I asked a friend from Muranga, if today I take you nikutoe Muranga, nikupeleke Uasin Gishu, do you think your life will be better just because you have gone to the village that Ruto comes from? It will not. But there is this narrative that imewekwa that Ruto is targeting Kikuyus. My friend, Ruto is targeting the entire country. And it's not his targeting. He's not willingly targeting. The guy is just incapable of doing it. Mtu kusikuja kusema mimi nikiingia mimi nita protect Mount Kenya community. That is nonsense. We don't want to be protected as a community. We want the entire country economy to grow. You see, people are saying that Kalenjin leadership is the problem. We had had Kikuyu's presidency before, but it's only one Kikuyu presidency who is being remembered by all other communities. A person called Kibaki. He can be called the father of modern Kenya. He revolutionized this country in 10 years. Akaacha tu deni ya 1.9 trillion. With everything he did, mabarabara, free primary education, akawacha deni tu ya 1.9. Kibaki. Every tribe can say that this is what Kibaki did. The infrastructure we are seeing, it is the vision that Kibaki had, the vision 2030. Are we together? Who is suffering now because their community is not united? Anyamakema people or Kamkunji people suffering, closing their shop because Morima is not united. Because Morima doesn't have Itungatis. You know, this nonsense is becoming now too much. Is that the reason why you people are closing shops? Is that the reason why chakula ya ng'ombe na chakula ya nguruwe ya mafama zimekuwa expensive? Just because we are not united. We don't have Itungatis or something like that. You know the reason I'm saying this thing is because if you go to the Luo Nyanza today, they think if they become united, they can produce a deputy president or a president. To do what? Are we saying Ruto must go so that we can replace him with just anybody? With just anybody? Then we must be the biggest fools that Ruto must go so that we can replace him with just anybody. The person you think that will replace Ruto, if given this country, if not for his tribe, if given this country, can he change the economy? The economy. Because that is what matters. My friend, exam ya Form 4 ilitoka this week. I saw people congratulating those kids when walifanya vizuri walipata A+, wanapigiwa makofi, congratulations. Even my own nephew got an A. But the question in my mind was, after 4 years in university, then what? Where will they go? Because you have been in the universities. We are out here. We know how things are. You know people, comrades, who got an A, did very good grades. Wanakuomba dhao moja tu ya kukula. Hata kulipa nyumba walishindwa. Wengine wameingia depression. Right now, World Health Organization is classifying Kenya as the 6th country yenye imekuwa hit by depression because of the economy, not because of tribe, not because that kuna region hawajashikana vizuri, my friend. If we go to 2027 with tribal arithmetics, that if Kikuyu support this tribe, they will take the government. To do what with that regime? To do what, my friend? We have agreed Ruto must go. The next question is, are we ready to pay the price that if he goes, we can have that one person who can change this country, even if they don't come from a bigger tribe, or they come from a bigger tribe, they have ruled before, they have not ruled before. We just look at that one person. Muangalie kwa kichwa zenyu kama kuna huyo mtu mmoja tu mwenye anaweza badilisha this country. And not through tribal arithmetics. But huyo at least mnaweza sema huyu tumeangalia anaweza badilisha this country. Because my friend, what is going to hit this country? My friend, hata nyinyi mtashangaa. The economy of this country is going to collapse in front of your own eyes. Next year tunalipa deni ya 2.4 trillion next year. Na hii deni tunalipa until 2036. So if nothing is going to be done, my friend, na hiyo bado hiyo miaka tutakuwa tumechukua deni nyingine. So we are in this the rest of our lives. If we cannot have that one person who will change this country, my friend, this country we are done and dusted. And if you think I'm joking, my friend, wengine wanasema Ruto anataka kumaliza mashule. Yes, Ruto anataka kumaliza mashule because he is incapable. Just know even some ministries, they are struggling to procure a tissue paper so that you can know the ile shimo hii Kenya iko. So ndio mkianza kusema we want to be united to do what? Are we suffering because we are not united? Economy.
Niwachanue hawa. Jameni, Mheshimiwa Gachagua na ndugu William Ruto, my namesake. Tusipotekeleza maneno tumesema hapa na Kiambu na kwengine 47 forums, tusipotimiza, hakuna watu watafukuzwa kwa serikali haraka kama sisi. Na mimi nataka nirudie, hakuna watu watafukuzwa haraka kwa sababu wa Kenya siku hizi ni wajuaji, kuwapeleka nyumbani one time. So we must continue the conversation hata baada ya hizi forums. Tukijaliwa tuweze kuchukua usukani. We must continue this conversation every 6 months. Tunaangalia monitoring and evaluation, tumefika wapi. Sijui kama hiyo inawezekana. Otherwise tutafukuzwa. Otherwise, hebu nataka nione ni wangapi wanakubaliana na mimi. Ndio hapo mimi husema mimi si mchawi wala si mnabii, lakini huona. Tukitekeleza haya, we will have no need to come and campaign again. Umesikia watu wanasema hapa, nafikiri ni Elijah, ati tukichaguliwa, sisi huonekana 3 months before elections. I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, the commitment William Ruto has, sio yule wakuja ati 3 months before elections. William Ruto will be with you from day one all the way to the end of 5 years. Na akituangusha basi atufanya vile anafanywa na yeye atapandwa hivyo hivyo baadaye.
Nice idea, but it won't help. It'll just formalize the reality that poor countries can never repay their loans.
Senator, are you saying that you're opposed to debt relief for impoverished countries?
No, we should forgive the debts, but that's not going to help those countries very much.
Okay. What will?
Tax cuts. Some African tax rates are the highest in the world. In Tanzania, the 30% rate kicks in at $475 of income. Plus, they have a 20% value-added tax. It gets added to everything you buy. Those high tax rates make it impossible to build capital in those countries. So nothing gets built, not factories, not roads, not anything. Poor African countries have the lowest wage workers in the world. And yet a company like Nike, for instance, can't put a factory in one of those countries because of the oppressive tax rates. Taxes have killed any possibility of economic development. They've killed any hope of these countries ever helping themselves. And that leaves them completely at the mercy of charity and loans. And here's the worst part. You know why those countries have such high tax rates? Because of us. To show us that they can raise enough money to pay back their loans. But taxes can't raise any money if they kill the economies. So it turns out that the tragic, unintended consequence of our good intentions toward Africa, our kindness, is that we have encouraged those countries to lock themselves into a gruesome economic depression. If we don't urge those countries to cut their tax rates, they will never grow their economies. People will live lifetimes of unemployment. Disease will be rampant. Poverty will be permanent. And children will be hungry. And our charity will never be enough. Never.
You're seeing the way banks are reducing interest rates, the fuel prices are being brought down. Things like those are done to reduce inflation. But reduce inflation at what kind of point in the economy? So usually people are doing things like that when the economy is about to go really bad. The inflation is very bad. They're trying to cap it so the value of our currency maintains. But these are things that usually work in the temporary, in the short term. This always backfires in the long run, because you actually solve that by creating jobs, and the guy is not creating jobs. So if you think this is the worst point we are economically as a country, we are actually at the beginning. This is now the point. If we are climbing a peak and going down, we are now at that peak, and now it's about to go downhill.
Na mimi ni kijana William. Nimetoka Kamagutu location. No job. Why? Ukiongea ukweli wanaugua.
Yeye amekuja.
Ukiongea tu kuongea ukweli atakuua. So kuue.
No matter how bad a man is, he can always serve as a good example of a bad man. That's what I was taught when I was doing journalism.
Wacheni tu mimi niseme na mapema. Ndio kama kuna list na andiko mniweke kwa list. I can't wait to reject Finance Bill 2025. I can't wait, because I know it will be something absurd. It will be something mental. I can't wait. Mniweke kwa list jameni. List reject.
Majenzi mko? Kazi mnafanya kwa mtandao ni mzuri sana. na tunapongeza nyinyi, na muendelee. Mtaendelea. Lakini mtandao peke yake haitoshi. Tunataka mjiandikishe kama wapiga kura. Wale watu ambaye watakomboa Kenya hii, wenye kuamua Kenya itaongozwa namna gani, ni hao majenzi wetu mwaka wa 2027. Lakini hamwezi amua Kenya itakaa namna gani kwa simu peke yake. Lazima mchukue vitambulisho, lazima mjiandikishe kama wapiga kura. Siku hiyo ikifika, muamuke saa 9, muungane na sisi na wengine, tuende pale kwa debe, tutafute uongozi wa maana ambaye utaheshimu wa Kenya, utaheshimu demokrasia na utakubali kufanyia kila mtu maendeleo. Tumekubaliana majenzi?
Now, why do you want Ruto gone?
We want Ruto gone because he is killing innocent people. He's wanting to pass the Finance Bill 2024. He's putting tax on sanitary products that girls can't even buy. He can't go to school. He's corrupt. He's taking the money. He needs to go.
Yes.
Get out. If you're going to raise anything, start with your hairline.
Nice.
Control, Alt, Delete, Ruto. The drunk did better than you. Drunk did better than you.
Nice.
Mungu yetu itoe Ruto Kenya, hata kama angalau na jali. Sisi Kenya tumechoka na Ruto, maisha imetuharibikia, analipisha mpaka sodo ya wamama. Pure kabisa Ruto. We don't like you, go home. Sasa tafuta kiongozi ambaye anapenda mwananchi na anapenda kijana kama.
They want to be described as honorable even when they are horrible. They acquire things which they have not worked for. They promise us things that they know they will never deliver. And there is no shortage of such men and women in the African continent.
Now the next election, yes. Unajua hawa ndio watakuwa nasema fagia wote ama mtasema namna gani? This generation, yes, they use their might because they didn't vote. The largest vote in the last election.
You like me, why them a fight me, You like me, chewing a bone, a bite it. You like me, chewing a bite it. Don't like power and you. When you touch them, even if we put them. When you touch them, you find not touch them. When you touch them, what you and not them. In farm, I'm missing your